And I have said, I want to change this country spectacularly in 3 years. So I don't have 10 years. I don't have 5 years. I don't have 6 months to decide whether or not and go to court. No, I don't have that time. People, yourselves, need accommodation. And if I'm going to submit myself to a process that will take me 10 years to deliver accommodation to you, then I would have failed you, and failed you spectacularly. So what do we do? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor and privilege for me to be here with you today and to speak to you at this 20th Senior Officers Strategic Conference, which you hold under the theme Embracing a New Dawn in Defense Capabilities Inspired by Human Security, Accountability, and Meritocracy. The theme is bold and it is timely. It is as bold and timely as it is inspirational. It sounds a clarion call for transformation, innovation, a people-centered approach to national defense, and a demonstration of a steadfast commitment to the values that have defined the Botswana Defence Force for decades. This theme speaks not only of change in our hardware and tactics, but also to our systems and people. Let me take this opportunity to thank the Director of Proceedings and other members of the BDF for your dedicated service and for keeping Botswana safe. Botswana appreciate the sacrifices you make, often at a huge personal cost, in order to attain a safe and stable environment in which personal freedoms are assured. We owe you and the entire membership of the BDF a debt that we can never fully repay. So let me acknowledge here and now that I have interacted with the Commander on many occasions, and he has outlined to me some of the challenges that the BDF is currently facing. These include issues pertaining to conditions of service for the members, as well as the civilian employees of the BDF. Operational readiness, social welfare challenges, mostly aggravated by the ever-changing operational environment in which you exist. I give you my assurance, solemn and serious, that government is committed to ensuring that our military is adequately equipped and resourced for the full range of military operations it has to undertake. We will continue to listen to your concerns with an open mind, and we will continue to address these concerns in the best manner we can. Some of the challenges that face us and you involve issues of pensions, and when they involve pensions, they obviously implicate retirement, which for the BDF occurs very early. Maybe there's need to engage on that issue, the age of retirement. I've reflected on it privately. I want us to reflect on it publicly and engage each other and establish whether this age, which has applied for so many years, is the right and perfect age for retirement. We also are wrestling with issues of accommodation, healthcare services, equipment maintenance, refurbishment, and replacement of your military wear. We may ask, what do Botswana expect from you in return? In your service to this nation, the citizens expect you to be gatekeepers of all the things that are good and noble about the profession of arms. Botswana reposes special trust and confidence in you to serve them with diligence above all other considerations. Your first responsibility is the protection of life, and you cannot have your members act otherwise. Any departure from this professional conduct will invariably erode the trust and confidence that the nation places in you. You are the nation's first line of defense. The nation expects of you to provide a secure and stable environment, which is a foundation upon which economic growth is built. This is because your role in maintaining national peace and security directly and indirectly enhances Botswana's attractiveness to foreign investors. One of the investors who had only been in Botswana for 3 days expressed to me how he had fallen so much in love with the country in those 3 days. And I asked him what it was about the country that had been so attractive to him. And he said to me, there's a fundamental niceness about the country. Fundamental niceness. And I was extremely happy because I understood deep in my heart that fundamental niceness is constructed around the peace and the stability this country offers, a predictable and safe environment undergirded by a disciplined, committed Botswana Defense Force. And so I urge and encourage that you continue to be that anchor for the country and its economy, and be that bulwark of safety and security, peace, that guarantees the enjoyment of the fundamental rights, human rights that every citizen must enjoy. And these rights, we all must know, are both universal and they are interdependent and indivisible. Human rights are interdependent. You cannot assure one to the exclusion of others. You must assure them all. And they are indivisible. That is why it becomes a fundamental imperative for the country to ensure that those who guarantee its peace, its safety and security are themselves taken care of. It is an obligation, therefore, to look after the Botswana Defence Force. It is your work, your commitment that continues to reassure investors that Botswana is a safe destination for capital and innovation in this era of the knowledge economy. And I've said, it is the knowledge economy. If you don't want to say knowledge economy, you can say the experimental economy. An economy that must thrive on vigorous subjacent experimentation, innovation, creativity, the ability to defy the conventional and the commonplace, the ability to venture into the realm of the far removed, the speculative, and fashion solutions that may not have been known before. Because if we remain hostages of the current, then we will fail to enter the gates of the future. So I encourage you to be innovative, to embrace technology, to develop and deploy homegrown solutions to the challenges that you face. You should always think innovatively around technology and its utilization in relation to the defense systems, and refine your tactical acumen accordingly. Your innovative ideas could very easily give birth to a defense industry that will not only shorten your supply chain, but can also make you self-sufficient in certain supplies, as well as contribute to economic development. In this regard, I have directed that a feasibility study on setting up a defense industry be prioritized, and your technical input is essential. We need to develop this military industrial complex. We need to develop it quickly. And so we will have to amend the laws so that they facilitate this and conduce to its realization in the shortest possible time. It will present prospects and opportunities for many of you. That whatever we decide ultimately about the retirement age, retirement may only mean shifting from active duty into a corollary supportive industry. Who is best placed to be involved in that defense industry than yourselves? And so I'd urge you to attend to this matter with dispatch, because it presents a special opportunity for you. I also would like to urge, there are many programs that we are trying to develop on the trot. One of them is a housing program called Bonno Housing Scheme. The bold ambition of this program is to ensure home ownership. That no person in this country be without a decent house. And I've seen how many of our people retire into penury, into poverty. And there's a structural explanation for this. And I've said before, we have operated a low-wage economy across for a very long time, such that a person who earns 20,000 belongs in the top 1% of high-income earners in this country. 20,000. And so you can imagine, if you slide all the way down, what it means for the everyday experience of our people. This should be a source of grave concern for all of us, especially for government. We need to be very concerned about this. And so when we complain, with good reason, we need to understand that we are dealing with a structural problem. And so we must face up to it and address it structurally. So this housing scheme is an attempt to place immovable property in the hands of citizens, as many of them as we possibly can. And the ambition is to build 100,000 of these houses in the next 3 years. I've said 3. The minister says he wants to do it in 2 years. And so this program is being rolled out in every constituency. The minimum is 1,000 houses. And so wherever you come from, you are entitled, if you have a piece of land that you've not been able to develop because of the challenges that we all face, you now can, for a very reasonable amount per month, at least put up some decent shelter. The idea is to ensure our citizens have decent accommodation. But we'll also engage in other programs that seek to deliberately transfer wealth, claw it back from where it is, and place it in the hands of the most ordinary of our citizens. It is an obligation. Government has to do this if it is a government of the people, for them and by them. We are also in the process of finalizing the development of a comprehensive national security strategy for this country in order to enhance our security ecosystem. This strategy will provide us with a framework to respond to both external and internal threats, to fashion effective and sagacious, far-sighted security policies, and allocate resources in a manner that strengthens our national resilience. And it will also lead to role clarity in our security environment. And so I call upon all of you, as the custodians of our peace and stability, to provide your insights, your experience, and your wisdom in order to shape this strategy and ensure that it reflects our national values, responds to emerging security challenges, and that it upholds our sovereignty and our territorial integrity in this ever-changing security environment. I am aware that one of the most significant obstacles to developing an effective national security strategy is a lack of consensus, common ground and vision on our national security priorities. This has led to a national security strategy being reactive as opposed to being proactive. In some countries, and indeed maybe in ours as well, defense budgets have been drastically reduced to address other competing priorities and national requirements. But we must appreciate that if we go too far down that road, we stand to suffer immensely in times of need. And so we must position ourselves to be ever ready, properly resourced, having honed and refined our strategic capabilities. And so we must take our cue from what is happening in the region and understand that we must prepare ourselves well in advance, in anticipation, so that we do not wait for tragedy to befall us and then begin to prepare under pressure of calamity. Esteemed senior officers, Botswana's participation in peacekeeping missions stands as an abiding testament to our unwavering commitment to regional stability, unity, and shared progress. Through these missions, we did not only help restore peace in conflict-affected areas, but we also strengthened bonds of friendship with our neighbors. We fostered mutual trust and regional interdependence. Our involvement promotes collective security, it enhances our diplomatic influence, and it reinforces Botswana's role as a responsible and proactive member of the international community. Our active participation in the SADC mission in Mozambique, SAMIM, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, SAMI DRC, evidences this. And we must applaud you and applaud through you ourselves as a country. Turning now to people issues, the BDF has made significant strides in gender integration aimed at addressing issues of equality, equity, and inclusivity. This is demonstrated by the active participation of women in peace and security initiatives on a global stage, and further by the command decision to establish the Gender Integration Office in the BDF. Gender mainstreaming is a critical component of the military for operational efficiency and effectiveness. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, another plague that afflicts us is domestic violence, gender-based violence, murder, suicides, and such like. These pose a serious threat to our national security. These crimes undermine our development agenda, erode social cohesion, and trample upon human rights. These need urgent and coordinated attention across all sections of our population. And you took an oath to defend, to protect. And this oath precludes, it prohibits you from becoming perpetrators of gender-based violence. You must display at all times the discipline, a kind of discipline that moderates your reaction to crisis and challenge, a kind of discipline that enables you to be an exemplar in society. Of course, you are human beings as well. Some of these challenges tax you emotionally and physically. But you are a different breed. You are a trained species of human being, steeped in certain values and a certain order of discipline. That must enable you to step back, to reflect soberly and sensibly about some of these challenges, even when they affect you personally. And they affect all of us, by the way. Make no mistake about it. Well, none of us is immune. It is how we choose to react that sets us apart. And so you, in the disciplined forces, must be the ones that lead by example. And so we must all hold hands and protect, defend the country and society against gender-based violence. I have an interesting personal experience in this regard. Many years ago, in my law practice, a senior BDF officer came and wanted to consult. And I sat there, entertained him, and he related his story. He was carrying his stick of honor. And he showed me bruises on his body. And he told me that he had, as he was sitting in my office, he had just been physically assaulted by his wife. And I sat there looking at him. And as he was relating his story, I was getting angry and angrier and angrier. And he related to me a painful ordeal that had taken a long time, and he had endured it. And so I was looking at this army man, and as he was telling me this and telling me how he is a victim of constant physical abuse by his wife, I was asking myself, I was young then, this guy is a soldier. He is charged with the responsibility to protect me. And he can't protect himself from his wife. He has been assaulted. So I was getting very worked up, and I was looking at him, waiting for him to finish. Because I thought when he stopped talking, I was going to say to him, brother, you don't need a lawyer. You need a bouncer. Maybe I should go with you and physically advise your wife against this behavior. Put aside all the lawyering and just go and deal with this situation. That's what I thought. Until he, as he was concluding, told me that he was raised in an abusive household where his father had physically abused his mother. And he told me, this soldier, that he had vowed, he had promised himself that he would never in his whole life lay a hand on a woman. This is a promise he had made to himself as he was growing up, living in this inhospitable environment. And when he said this, my whole attitude towards him changed. I developed a deep sense of respect for him and appreciation of his character, I realized this is a very strong man. He's an exemplary human being. He is every inch a soldier, disciplined to the core, disciplined unto death. And I look at all of you, and I expect no less from you, because you would tarnish this impression that I have, and also the integrity of the Botswana Defence Force if you behaved in any manner that falls short of this lofty standard. The bar for you is high, higher than for the average citizen. One of the things that we must also do, and it is a challenge not just to certain pockets, but to the whole of our society, is the ability to implement projects timeously, properly, and within budget. We have a serious challenge in this society. The tender process. I've spoken about it. I raise it again because I want society to be fully engaged on this matter. To build a house, the project of constructing a house is preceded by another project, the project of procurement. It's a project in and of itself, one that takes too long, one that at times becomes even more costly than the house that you want to build. The steps leading up to the actual construction of the house are themselves more dilatory and more costly, more expensive than the actual cost of building the house. This is a reality. We cannot sidestep it. We cannot run away from it. We must face up to it squarely and engage with it. And these processes that precede the actual construction of the house are rigged from end to end. There's a whole line of players who are entrenched, who have been there, and who master the craft of subverting propriety. So when a tender is issued, people purchase it, it is already known who this tender belongs to. Others are just accompanying at great cost to themselves. And it happens, and we know. I've dealt with it as a legal practitioner. I know it from end to end. I understand it fully. I've engaged. And often when it turns out that the process cannot be short-circuited, the tender is cancelled. And the process begins. So if you wanted to build this house in the next 6 months, it's going to take you 10 years fighting over whether to build this house or not. And in that interregnum, people are homeless, they are without shelter. What do we do? That's the question. And I have said, I want to change this country spectacularly in 3 years. So I don't have 10 years. I don't have 5 years. I don't have 6 months to decide whether or not and go to court. No, I don't have that time. People, yourselves, need accommodation. And if I'm going to submit myself to a process that will take me 10 years to deliver accommodation to you, then I would have failed you and failed you spectacularly. So what do? We need to ensure that there's transparency, there's openness, there's accountability in each and every process that we undertake. No doubt, that is not negotiable, and that there is no corruption. And so people say, when you acknowledge a failed system and you say, whatever we do, we must not do this one. He say he's trying to give tenders to his relatives. I want you to know my relatives. Just check. You'll know them. You need to know them so that you can track whether any one of my relatives has any tender. You need to ascertain, you need to be sure about these things. So that when these allegations are flung about, because one is seeking to move from an entrenched system of corruption to something that offers us some redemption, yet you are able to interrogate the allegations. And we must interrogate the allegations together. And so it's going to be very critical for us to find ways of moving away from this corrupt system and engaging in a different one that we can monitor and track, one that delivers results timeously, within budget, no corruption. And so we need to look for the best practices. And that we will do. If there's anything that I'm not afraid to do, it is to take decisive measures, even in the face of opposition and hostility. If it has to be done, it is good for the country, it is good for the people, I will do it. Make no mistake about it. I declare this and I declare it publicly so that it is known, so that when you gauge and you assess, you understand how I approach these matters. And with me, I'm always open to engagement. You disagree with me? Let's talk. You tell me, I think you're getting it wrong here. And I'll listen to you. And if I realize you are correct, I will say it to you, but not just to you. I'll also say it publicly. I've been advised by my friend or my colleague that this approach is wrong. I have reassessed. I have come to the conclusion that it is actually wrong, and we self-correct. That's how you operate. Because we're all frail and fallible. This is the concept of bofokoti. This is what it means. When you say that, it means you appreciate your own frailties, your own brokenness. You're broken and fissured yourself. And so, when others come and they approach you with a different perspective, you pay attention. And when you realize they are correct, you heed what they say. This is how you operate in a sane and sober environment. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what position you occupy. It's called humility. Just the ability to acknowledge that I may be wrong. Even when you think you've got it right 100%, you may actually be 100% wrong. And when somebody challenges you, if you think you are right and you believe in the correctness of your proposition, then it becomes an opportunity for you to persuade them, to win them over, or be won over to their side. And so I don't understand why sometimes there's conflict. When we engage on any issue, and you know, you assess. That's why you do recon. You collect data. You assess it critically. You examine it from different perspectives. And then you take a decision. But if you go out there, rumor and gossip gets people so excited. Even some who call themselves analysts. You look at what they're trying to say, there's no analysis. But you, by virtue of your profession, your training, are analysts because you deal only in facts. And you take decisions based on accurate information, not speculation, not rumor, not gossip, not pettiness, not frivolity, not absurdity. That's your job. And you need to demonstrate these capabilities because you have them. And so it's important for us to understand these issues. And I commit here and now, and going forward, to working with you to build the Botswana Defense Force so that it truly provides for security, accountability, and meritocracy. That your actions on and off duty reflect our respect for human rights and the rule of law. Let us build a force, a defense force, that is not only formidable in capability, but one that is also exemplary in character. And if we do this, we will ensure that the Botswana Defense Force remains a pillar of peace, security, and progress for generations to come. Allow me then, with these hurried thoughts and reflections, to not only officially kick off your conference, but to encourage you to engage in honest reflection and probing, critical examination, critical reflection and self-reflection. It is the poet William Butler Yeats who tells us, he says, it takes more courage for one to examine the inner recesses of his or her own soul than it takes for a soldier to fight on the battlefield. The biggest challenge, bigger than fighting on the battlefield, is an ability to turn the spotlight on yourself and critically reflect on your own failings, your own foibles and faults, the better to correct them and acknowledge them openly. It is therapeutic, it is cathartic, it heals you, it makes you a better person. If we do that collectively, it will make the Botswana Defense Force a better defense force. It remains for me at this point to thank you for the pleasure of your company this morning and the privilege of your kind attention. Thank you. Thank you so very much.